The gunshot echoed through the quiet suburban street in Austin, Texas, shattering the evening calm like glass underfoot. Mark Thompson, a 28-year-old architect, had just confessed his deepest secret to his older brother, David, over a tense family dinner, admitting he was gay and in love with his colleague, Ryan. But instead of understanding, David's face twisted in rage, and in a blur of motion, he grabbed the family heirloom pistol from the mantel, firing a warning shot into the air that summoned neighbors and police sirens wailing in the distance. Mark's heart pounded as he backed away, the acrid smell of gunpowder filling the room. David, a decorated Marine veteran, stood there trembling, his eyes wild with a mix of shock and disgust. "You disgust me?" David spat, lowering the gun but not his voice. "How could you do this to us? To Mom and Dad's memory?" The confession, meant to bridge the gap between them after their parents' death in a car accident 2 years prior, had instead ignited a firestorm. Mark had always idolized David, the strong, silent type who had raised him through their teenage years when their folks were too busy working. But now, as police lights flashed through the windows, Mark realized his truth might cost him the only family he had left. That night, as Mark sat in the back of a squad car, giving his statement, his mind raced back to how it all started. He and Ryan had met at the architectural firm where they both worked, designing sustainable homes for low-income families. Ryan, with his easy smile and sharp wit, had been Mark's anchor during late-night drafting sessions. Their friendship blossomed into something more during a company retreat in the hill country, where under starlit skies, Ryan had leaned in and kissed him. It was Mark's first real taste of acceptance, a world away from the conservative upbringing where being gay was whispered about like a curse. But the confession to David wasn't impulsive. Mark had agonized over it for months, weighing the risks. David had always been the protector, the one who beat up bullies in high school when kids teased Mark for being too sensitive. Yet, David's military background and church involvement made him a pillar of traditional values. Mark had hoped that brotherly love would prevail, but the gunshot proved otherwise. As the officers questioned David inside the house, Mark's phone buzzed with a text from Ryan. "Are you okay? I heard sirens near your place." Mark's fingers hovered over the screen, unsure how to respond. How do you explain that your coming out nearly ended in violence? The next morning, Mark woke up in a motel room on the outskirts of town, the cheap sheets scratchy against his skin. David had been released with a warning. No charges pressed, thanks to his spotless record. But the brothers hadn't spoken since. Mark's boss had given him the day off, but he couldn't shake the dread. He drove to Ryan's apartment, a cozy loft in downtown Austin filled with sketches and plants. Ryan pulled him into a hug the moment he opened the door. "What happened?" Ryan asked, his voice soft but urgent. Mark recounted the events, his voice breaking as he described David's reaction. Ryan listened, his hand never leaving Mark's. "I'm so sorry," Ryan whispered, "but you did the right thing. Hiding who you are was killing you inside." Mark nodded, but doubt gnawed at him. Was it worth it? The family home, filled with memories, now felt like a war zone. And what about their shared inheritance? The house their parents left them. David could contest it, drag them through courts laced with prejudice. As they sat on the balcony, overlooking the bustling city, Mark felt a flicker of hope. Ryan's presence was a balm, reminding him why he'd taken the risk. But deep down, he knew this was just the beginning. Society's judgments loomed large in Texas, where progressive pockets like Austin clashed with rural conservatism. Friends might turn away, clients might bail. And David? The betrayal in his eyes haunted Mark. How could love feel so right yet cause so much pain? Over the following weeks, the rift deepened. David changed the locks on the family home and sent Mark a curt email. "Stay away until you get your head straight." Mark moved in with Ryan temporarily, their relationship strengthening amid the chaos. They attended their first Pride event together, a small gathering in a local park, where Mark felt a sense of community for the first time. But whispers followed him at work, rumors spread by a colleague who'd overheard the police report. One evening, as Mark and Ryan cooked dinner, the phone rang. It was Aunt Clara, their late mother's sister, a devout Catholic from Dallas, David told me everything, she said, her voice laced with disappointment. How could you choose this path? Think of the family name. Mark's stomach churned. Clara had been like a second mother, but now her words cut deep. He defended himself, explaining it wasn't a choice, but she hung up mid-sentence. Ryan held him as tears flowed. They're wrong, not you, he said. But Mark wondered if he was selfish. By coming out, had he shattered the fragile remnants of his family? The internal conflict raged, loyalty to his heritage versus authenticity. Each day brought new decisions. Block David on social media or keep hoping for reconciliation. Attend therapy alone or drag Ryan into the mess. The tension peaked when Mark received an invitation to a family reunion in Houston. David had organized it, excluding Mark explicitly. You're not welcome, the note read. Hurt turned to anger. Mark decided to confront him, driving the 4 hours with Ryan by his side for support. As they approached the venue, a quaint ranch house, Mark's resolve wavered. What if this led to more violence? But he pressed on, knowing silence would erode his soul. Pulling up, Mark saw David laughing with cousins, beer in hand. The sight stung. Stepping out, Mark called his name. David froze, his face hardening. What are you doing here? He demanded. The family gathered, whispers rippling. Mark stood tall. We need to talk. I'm your brother, and this isn't going away. The confrontation unfolded in the backyard, away from prying eyes. David accused Mark of betraying their parents' values. They raised us to be men, not this. Mark countered, sharing stories of his struggles, the years of hiding. Ryan waited nearby, ready to intervene. As emotions boiled, David admitted his fear of losing face in his military circles, fear of what others would say. For the first time, Mark saw vulnerability in his brother. But resolution didn't come easy. David stormed off, leaving Mark with an ultimatum. Choose your lifestyle or family. Driving back, Mark pondered the cost. Love with Ryan felt pure, but the family fracture ached. Society's pressures amplified everything. News of anti-LGBT bills in the state legislature. Friends sharing stories of discrimination. Mark realized this wasn't just personal. It was a battle against ingrained biases. Weeks after the confrontation at the reunion, Mark threw himself into work, channeling his turmoil into designs for a community center aimed at LGBTQ youth. The project, funded by a progressive foundation, gave him purpose. Ryan supported him, collaborating on the blueprints, their late nights filled with heated discussions about inclusivity. But beneath the productivity, Mark's anxiety festered. He started seeing a therapist, Dr. Elena Ramirez, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who specialized in family dynamics. In their first session, Mark unloaded everything, the confession, the gunshot, David's rejection. I feel like I'm mourning a death, he admitted. Dr. Ramirez nodded. You are. The brother you knew is gone, replaced by someone shaped by fear. She probed deeper, asking about his parents. Mark recalled their subtle homophobia, jokes about those people during holiday dinners. It had planted seeds of self-doubt that bloomed now. Meanwhile, Ryan faced his own pressures. His family, liberal academics from California, had embraced their relationship, but living in Texas tested that. At a dinner with Ryan's visiting parents, Mark felt out of place, their easy acceptance highlighting his loss. Your family now, Ryan's mom said, hugging him. It warmed Mark but stirred envy. Why couldn't his own kin be like that? The plot thickened when Mark discovered David's secret. Scrolling through social media one evening, he stumbled upon a post from an old high school friend. A photo of David at a bar with a man, arms linked intimately. Mark's jaw dropped. Was David gay too? Or bi? The hypocrisy burned. He screenshot it, debating whether to confront him. Ryan advised caution. This could be a way in, or it could explode. Mark chose to investigate discreetly. He messaged the friend, who confirmed David had been seeing the man, Jake, a fellow veteran, for months. He's keeping it quiet, the friend said, afraid of backlash. Mark's anger mixed with empathy. David was living a double life while condemning him? The moral dilemma weighed heavy. Was exposing this revenge or a path to understanding? Deciding on directness, Mark emailed David a meeting request at a neutral coffee shop in Austin. David agreed, surprisingly. They met on a sunny afternoon, tension thick as they ordered lattes. Mark slid the phone across the table, showing the photo. David's face paled. "How did you?" he stammered. Mark leaned in. "I'm not here to out you. But how can you judge me when you're hiding the same thing?" David looked away, shame etching his features. He confessed. Jake was his first real connection since his divorce 5 years ago. The military is not accepting. I could lose everything: pension, friends. Mark saw the parallel struggles, the shared fear of societal rejection. The conversation shifted gears. David admitted his reaction to Mark's coming out stemmed from projection. His own repressed feelings exploding outward. "I was angry at myself, not you," he said quietly. Tears welled in both their eyes. For a moment, reconciliation seemed possible. They hugged awkwardly, promising to talk more. But betrayal lurked. That night, Mark told Ryan about the meeting, omitting the hug to spare details. Ryan's jealousy flared subtly. "He's hurt you so much. Why give him another chance?" Mark reassured him, but seeds of doubt planted. Ryan had his own insecurities. Past relationships ended due to family interference. He worried Mark might prioritize blood over their love. As days passed, David reached out more, sharing stories of his struggles with Jake. Mark felt torn, happy for the budding brotherly bond but guilty for the time it took from Ryan. At work, a major client pulled out after hearing rumors about Mark's personal life, citing values misalignment. The loss stung financially and emotionally, reinforcing societal prejudices. Mark's internal conflict intensified during a therapy session. "Am I betraying Ryan by forgiving David?" he asked. Dr. Ramirez challenged him. "Forgiveness isn't betrayal. It's healing. But set boundaries." Mark nodded, but the pressure mounted. He started having nightmares, David shooting him, Ryan leaving. The high point came at a charity gala for the community center. Mark and Ryan attended as a couple, turning heads. David showed up uninvited, with Jake in tow. "I wanted to support you," David said. The gesture touched Mark, but Ryan tensed. During speeches, Mark thanked Ryan publicly, declaring his love. The crowd applauded, but David pulled him aside later. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. "But be careful, not everyone is as open." Post-gala, tensions boiled over at home. Ryan accused Mark of being too forgiving. "He almost killed you." Mark defended David, sparking their first major fight. "He's family." Ryan shot back. "And what am I? Disposable? Hurt?" Ryan stormed out, leaving Mark alone with his thoughts. The next day, Mark searched for Ryan, finding him at a park bench. They talked, airing grievances. Ryan admitted his fear of losing Mark to family reconciliation. Mark promised balance. They reconciled with a kiss, but fragility lingered. Society's shadow loomed larger when news broke of a local hate crime. A gay couple assaulted downtown. It hit close, reminding Mark of vulnerabilities. He decided to advocate more, joining a support group. There, he met others with similar stories, validating his pain. Months into the fragile truce with David, Mark's life resembled a tightrope walk. The community center project advanced, groundbreaking set for spring. Ryan's support was unwavering publicly, but privately, doubts simmered. David's presence increased. He and Jake joined double dates, awkward at first but thawing over time. Yet, Mark sensed undercurrents. David's occasional slips into old prejudices, like commenting on flamboyant pride parades. One afternoon, while reviewing plans with Ryan, Mark's phone rang. It was Clara again, her tone urgent. "David's in trouble. He needs you." Mark rushed to the hospital, heart racing. David had been in a bar fight, defending Jake from homophobic slurs. Fractured ribs, black eye. Seeing his brother bandaged, Mark's resentment melted. "Why didn't you call the cops?" he asked. David shrugged. "Didn't want the attention." Jake sat nearby, gratitude in his eyes. "Your brother's a hero," he said. Mark stayed the night, reminiscing about childhood. For the first time, David opened about his internal battles, years suppressing attraction, marrying his ex-wife to fit in. "I envy your courage," David admitted. Mark felt a shift. Perhaps healing was possible. But the incident rippled outward. Local news picked it up, outing David unintentionally. His military buddies distanced themselves, whispers of traitor circulating. David spiraled, drinking more. Mark tried helping, but it strained his time with Ryan. "You're always there for him," Ryan complained one night. "What about us?" The conflict peaked during a weekend getaway Mark planned for just them in the Texas countryside. En route, David called in crisis. Jake had left, overwhelmed by publicity. Mark detoured to console him, arriving late to the cabin. Ryan exploded. "This is our time. Why is he always first?" Mark apologized, but damage done. They argued fiercely, Ryan questioning Mark's priorities. Is blood thicker than love? Hurt, Mark drove back alone the next day, leaving Ryan to cool off. At home, he confronted his mirror image. A man torn between loyalties. Therapy helped unpack it. Dr. Ramirez suggested family sessions. Mark proposed it to David, who agreed reluctantly. The joint session was explosive. David accused Mark of rubbing his happiness in his face. Mark countered with years of suppression. Dr. Ramirez mediated, uncovering shared traumas from their parents' rigid expectations. Progress inched forward, but Ryan felt sidelined. He started pulling away, working late, avoiding intimacy. Society's role amplified the drama. At a town hall on LGBTQ rights, Mark spoke passionately, drawing applause but also hecklers. One shouted slurs, echoing David's past rage. It shook Mark, reminding him of ongoing battles. Ryan attended, supportive, but later confessed fears for their safety. Is this worth it? A betrayal blindsided Mark when he discovered Ryan had confided in a friend about considering a break. The friend, well-meaning, told Mark. Confrontation ensued. "You were going to leave without telling me?" Mark yelled. Ryan broke down. "I'm scared you'll choose family over me." They reconciled tearfully, but trust cracked. David's arc twisted further. Reconciled with Jake, he came out publicly in a veteran support group, inspired by Mark. Cost him friends but gained allies. He thanked Mark, but the gesture felt bittersweet amid Mark's relationship woes. Internal monologues haunted Mark. Was forgiving David a mistake? Had his confession set off a chain of irreversible damage? He weighed moral choices, loyalty to self versus others. Each decision carried weight. Skip a family call for Ryan or risk resentment. The high-tension moment arrived at the community center's fundraiser. Mark emceed, Ryan by his side. David attended with Jake, a show of unity. But during toasts, a drunk guest outed old rumors, mocking the dysfunctional brothers. Chaos erupted. David punched the man. Ryan pulled Mark away. Police arrived again, echoes of that first night. In the aftermath, Mark faced a crossroads. David apologized profusely. Ryan issued an ultimatum. Set boundaries or I'm out. Mark chose to limit contact with David, prioritizing Ryan. It hurt but necessary. As weeks passed, equilibrium returned tentatively. Mark and Ryan attended couples therapy, rebuilding. David respected the distance, focusing on his own growth. But societal pressures persisted. Bills threatening rights, workplace biases. Mark's awakening deepened. He realized love demanded sacrifices, but so did self-respect. Questioning past choices, he pondered if earlier silence might have spared pain. Yet, authenticity's pull was stronger. With boundaries set, Mark's relationship with Ryan stabilized. Their bond forged stronger in therapy's fire. They moved into a new apartment, a fresh start away from family shadows. Work flourished. The community center opened to fanfare, Mark's speech on acceptance drawing media attention. But success invited scrutiny. Conservative groups protested, labeling it indoctrination hub. Threats arrived via email, testing Mark's resolve. David, respecting space, sent occasional texts, updates on his life with Jake, therapy progress. Mark replied briefly, a fragile bridge. But guilt lingered. Had he abandoned his brother? Dr. Ramirez assured him, healthy distance isn't betrayal. Ryan's family visited, offering unwavering support. Over dinner, his dad shared stories of activism in the 80s, inspiring Mark. Yet, envy resurfaced. Why not his own kin? Clara called sporadically, her tone softening but still laced with judgment. Praying for you, she'd say, a backhanded olive branch. The drama escalated when Mark discovered a leak. Someone had shared his personal story online, twisting it into scandal. Posts accused him of corrupting David, fueling hate. Views skyrocketed, doxing their address. Panic set in. Ryan suggested moving, but Mark refused. We can't run. Investigation pointed to a former colleague, bitter over the lost client. Mark confronted him at the firm, words flying. You had no right. The man smirked. Society needs to know. Fists clenched. Mark walked away, but the damage spread. Friends distanced, fearing association. Ryan bore the brunt, fielding harassing calls at work. His patience frayed. This is because of your family drama, he snapped one night. Mark defended. It's society's hate, not David's fault. The argument unearthed deeper issues. Ryan's resentment of Mark's lingering attachment to blood ties. A moral quandary arose when David offered help. His military connections could trace the harasser. Mark debated, accept and risk blurring boundaries? He declined, choosing independence. But harassment intensified, culminating in a brick through their window, scrawled with slurs. Terrified, they filed reports, installing security. Ryan's fear turned to anger. If you'd stayed closeted, none of this. He stopped, regretting. Mark's heart broke. You think I chose this pain? They separated temporarily, Ryan crashing with friends. Alone, Mark confronted his demons. Was outing himself a selfish act, endangering loved ones? Society's mirror reflected ugly truths. Progress masked persistent bigotry. He attended a rally, speaking out, finding solidarity but also isolation. Reconciliation with Ryan came via a heartfelt letter. I love you, but fear is winning. Let's fight together. They reunited, vowing resilience. But David's involvement resurfaced. He showed up unannounced, having tracked the harasser independently. I couldn't stand by, he said. Mark exploded. I told you to stay away. David pleaded. We're family. The clash revealed unresolved wounds. Jake mediated, suggesting joint advocacy. Reluctantly, Mark agreed to a trial collaboration on an anti-hate campaign. The campaign launched, brothers united publicly for the first time. Media ate it up, from feud to allies. But backstage, tensions simmered. Ryan felt overshadowed. It's always about you too, Mark reassured, but doubts crept. A betrayal struck when Clara, swayed by online vitriol, disowned Mark in a family email chain. You've dragged us all down. David defended him, severing ties with her. Gratitude mixed with sorrow. Another loss. Internal turmoil peaked during a quiet evening. Mark questioned everything. Was love worth the wreckage? Ryan's steady hand grounded him, but the price tag loomed. The climax built at a national conference on LGBTQ rights in D.C. Mark presented, Ryan and David attending. Protesters clashed outside, chaos spilling in. In the melee, David shielded Mark from a thrown object, getting injured. Heroism again. But at what cost? Hospital bedside, Mark thanked him. David whispered, I'd do it for you always. Tears flowed, barriers crumbling. Ryan watched, conflicted but appreciative. Post-incident, dynamics shifted. Ryan accepted David's role, recognizing shared struggles. Mark's awakening. Family redefined beyond blood. Post-conference, Mark's profile rose, interviews, speaking gigs. The community center thrived, a beacon for youth facing similar battles. Ryan proposed during a private dinner, ring glinting under candlelight. Through it all, you're my choice. Mark accepted tearfully, a milestone amid chaos. But joy was short-lived. Wedding planning unearthed divisions. Ryan wanted a big affair. Mark, wary of publicity. David offered to walk him down the aisle, a gesture touching but complicated. Who else? David asked. Mark hesitated, fearing backlash. Societal winds shifted with elections. Anti-LGBT rhetoric surged. Bills threatened rights. Protests erupted. Mark joined marches, Ryan by his side, but exhaustion set in. When does it end? Ryan sighed. A family crisis hit. Clara suffered a stroke. David called, pleading Mark visit. Torn, Mark went, Ryan staying behind. At the hospital, Clara woke disoriented. Seeing Mark, she softened. I've been wrong, she whispered. Reconciliation? Mark hoped, but her recovery demands pulled him in. Balancing wedding prep and family, Mark stretched thin. Ryan's frustration boiled. She's the one who rejected you. Mark snapped back. Forgiveness heals. The fight escalated, Ryan questioning the engagement. If family's always first. Mark's moral compass spun. Was marrying Ryan abandoning roots, or vice versa? Therapy delved deep, childhood abandonment fears surfaced. David's support waned when Jake proposed to him, diverting focus. Jealousy flickered in Mark. Why smoother for them? Betrayal came via an anonymous tip. The harasser was linked to David's old military circle, retaliating for his coming out. David knew. Confrontation ensued. I suspected but didn't want to worry you, David admitted. Mark felt manipulated. You used me for your redemption arc. The brothers' bond frayed again. Mark cut contact, focusing on wedding. Invites sent, but absences stung. Old friends declined, citing values. Pre-wedding jitters peaked at the bachelor party. Ryan's friends toasted, but Mark's mind wandered to losses. A drunk call to David. I miss you. Hangover regret followed. Wedding day dawned bright in Austin's botanical gardens. Ryan looked stunning in his tux. As vows exchanged, Mark spotted David in the back, uninvited but present. Emotion surged. Reception flowed, toasts heartfelt. David approached cautiously. Congrats. They hugged. Tentative peace. But post-honeymoon reality bit. A job offer for Ryan in New York. Better pay, safer environment. We could start fresh, Ryan urged. Mark resisted. My work's here, the center. The decision loomed. Stay or go. Internal debate raged. Leaving meant escaping prejudices but abandoning impact. Staying risked more pain. David's plea added layers. Don't go. We need you. Ryan countered. We need safety. The choice crystallized during a center event. A teen shared his story, mirroring Mark's. Inspiration struck. Stay and fight. Ryan compromised, accepting a remote role. Gratitude deepened their love. With the move averted, Mark and Ryan settled into married life. Their apartment a sanctuary. The community center expanded, programs aiding more families. David and Jake married quietly, brothers fully reconciled. Clara, post-recovery, attended family gatherings, her views evolving slowly. But peace proved illusory. A scandal erupted. Leaked emails from Mark's firm exposed discriminatory practices, implicating him indirectly via past silence. Media frenzy ensued, questioning his integrity. Hypocrite? Headlines screamed. Mark defended publicly, admitting past fears. Support poured in, but detractors amplified. Ryan stood firm, but strain showed, late nights arguing strategy. David offered PR help from veteran networks. Mark accepted, collaboration strengthening bonds. Yet, societal backlash intensified. Boycotts threatened the center. A personal blow. Ryan's job demoted him subtly, citing distractions. Fury boiled. This is retaliation. They sued, entering legal battles. Amid turmoil, Mark reflected on journeys. The gunshots echo fading, replaced by growth's hum. Choices prices. Lost innocence. Gained wisdom. The final confrontation came at a Senate hearing on rights. Mark testified. facing hostile questions. Does your lifestyle promote division? One senator asked. Mark responded eloquently, love unites, hate divides. Post-hearing, family united in celebration. But Ryan confessed doubts. Was it all worth it? Mark pondered. Years condensed. Center flourished. Laws improved incrementally. Personal scars healed, but memories lingered. In quiet moments, Mark questioned paths taken. Society's evolution slow, but his story contributed. The tale closed with Mark and Ryan on their balcony, watching sunset. We made it, Ryan said. Mark smiled, but inside, debates raged. Was sacrificing family ties for personal truth a moral victory, or a selfish act that perpetuated division?